macroeconomics topics, and the topic is the production and the production function. So first of all, I want to define that what production function is. A production function is the relationship between the quantity of inputs a firm uses and the quantity of output it produces. So production function is a relationship between the quantity of inputs which a firm uses and the quantity of output it produces. Hence, it is the relationship of the inputs and the outputs. What we are using is a firm, what we are employing is a firm or is a producer, and what we are getting, that kind of relationship is called the production function. So to produce anything, or in other terms we can say that production is the process of converting the inputs into the outputs, or we can say that production is the function, or it is the process through which we change the shape of the inputs to the outputs. So there are different types of the inputs used in the production. To produce anything, we are using two major types of the inputs. One is the fixed input and another is the variable input. A fixed input is an input whose quantity is fixed and cannot be varied. Repeat it again, I am going to repeat it again, that a fixed input is that input whose quantity is not going to change with the change in the output, just like the building. I am standing in this class, if there are only 10 students, this class has the capacity of more than 100 students. If suppose sitting 10 today, if we have more, if we are allowing 20 to attend the class will not change. So buildings, the machineries, so some inputs, they are very fixed, they are not going to change with the change in the output, especially in the short run. Later on we will discuss the short run and the long run. Then a variable input. Another input is called the variable input. A variable input is that input whose quantity the firm can vary. We are going to change as a producer, as a firm. We can increase or decrease the quantity of these inputs, just like the raw material, just like the labor. Usually in the short run we use labor as a variable input. So the production function is the relationship between the quantity of output we produce and the quantity of input we employ or we use. So there are two inputs, fixed input, which does not change with the change in output, and the variable input, which changes with the changes in the output. The long run inputs and the outputs. The long run is the time period in which all inputs can be varied. These are the different time periods available to the producers, depending on the nature of the firm. Sometimes a very long time period, a short period is long period for a firm. So it depends on the nature of the product. So the long term is the time period in which all inputs can be varied. It is the enough time period available to the producers in which they can increase the variable inputs, even they can change the fixed inputs. Even the technology can be changed in the long run. And the short run is the time period on which at least only one input is fixed. It is that time period, it is the shorter time period, it is the smaller time period available to the producers, in which they can only change or they can only vary the variable inputs but at least one variable or one factor or one input is fixed. So, which is the short run is the very small time period. So the total product curve, another term which is related with the total product curve, it shows how the quantity of output depends on the quantity of the variables inputs for a given quantity of the fixed inputs. We also draw the total product curve. Through this product curve we show the relationship of the quantity, the amount of the goods or services produced or provided of output depending on the quantity of variable inputs. You can see that production function and the total product curve for George and Martha's farms, just suppose we have used it, name is a symbolic name. Vertically we have written the quantity of wheat bushels, and horizontally we have written the quantity of labor of the workers or the number of the farmers. So you can see that the more quantity of laborers we are employing, the more output we are getting, means it is rising, the total physical product is rising. Adding a second worker lead to an increase in output of 17 bushels. If we say suppose initially we have the 20, one farmer or one worker can produce 20 output from the land, but when we are adding another worker, the second worker, with the help of the second worker, just suppose we have 36. Initially 90, second we can see 36. So the second worker has contributed 17 bushels. The third worker, when we are adding the third worker to the lane, same lane. Remember, the lane is not changing. Only we are increasing the number of the laborers, the variable input. So when we say that the third laborer or third worker, we have the total 51 output, 51 bushels, which means the second worker third worker has contributed 15 more. You can see here, this one, the fourth worker 64, the fourth worker has contributed 13, is a marginal product. Fifth worker 7, our total is 75 and 11 is the contribution of the fifth one. Sixth worker, when we have the 6 workers working in the field, the total is the 84, but the contribution of the sixth laborer is only 9 and 7, we have total 91, but the contribution of the seventh one is the 7 bushels. Eighth, when we are applying the 8th worker on the same lane, same size lane, then the output is to 96 bushels and the contribution of the 8th worker is 5. So you can see when we employ this data, the adding a 7th worker leads to an increase in output of only 7. You can see the 7th one is contributing only 7 bushels. So more you add the variable input on the fixed input, then the less will be the marginal product of the additional input. So the marginal product of labor, what is known as the marginal product of the labor? Usually we say that when we are adding one row, marginal means additional. Output, in this case, the output produced by one more laborer. As we have discussed in the previous example, you can see that when we have 0 input or labor, we have nothing to produce. When we have adapted the first one has total output is 19. When we have added second laborer to the same lane, the total is 36. But how much contribution is made by the second one? When we minus 19 from 36, so the 17 is the contribution of the second one, and so on. So the marginal product of an input is the additional quantity of output that is produced by using one more unit of that input. Means when we are adding one more unit of the input, how much we are getting using output, additional output. So the marginal product of labor, to calculate the marginal product of the labor, we simply divide change in quantity of output divided by change in quantity of labor. So the change in quantity of output generated by one additional unit of the labor. So marginal product of labor, L for the labor, M for the marginal, and P for the product, is equal to change in delta for the change in quantity of the output divided by the change in L means labor. So this is the formula we simply use to calculate the marginal product. Diminishing returns to an input. Remember that when we are adopting, when we are applying more variable input on the fixed input, in the shorter run time period, because you are only allowed to change or vary or increase or decrease the variable input. So, diminishing returns to input. Sometimes when we add one more worker or one more input, the output produced by additional input is less than the previous input. When we get such kind of the output, we say that there is a diminishing returns to input. Diminishing means decreasing. So there are diminishing returns to an input when an increase in the quantity of that input, means when we are adding or when we are increasing the quantity of that input, means labor. Holding the levels of all other inputs fixed, as we have discussed that in the short run we have to keep all other inputs fixed. We are not going to change, only the variable inputs will change. Leads to a decline in the marginal product of that input. When we apply more of the variable input, the output we get from that added input will be less than the previous input. If suppose I say that when we add one laborer, that one laborer is producing 10 markers per hour or 10 markers per day on a particular machine or on a particular type of the environment. When we add second laborer to the same machine, our total output is 18. Now, how much the second laborer has contributed to the production? We say that 8 is the contribution of the second, so it is called the diminishing return. Means second one is produced less than the first one. So following marginal product of labor curve, let's state this concept clearly. You can see this marginal product of labor curve. Marginal product of labor means bushels per worker. We have the number of the bushels output per worker. This is the quantity of labor, the workers. When we say that first one, when we have one laborer, we have such kind of output. You can see the more the laborer you are getting, there are diminishing returns to labor. The first laborer is produced, suppose 17 or 18 labels. The second one is produced 15 or 14. The third one is produced 13. The fourth one is produced 12. The fifth one is produced, just suppose 11, 12. Sixth one is produced 8. Seventh one is produced, just suppose 7 or 6. And so on. It means more you aid the labor, the less output you are getting. So this kind of the output is called the diminishing marginal return. So to draw the total product, marginal product and the fixed input on the same graph paper, quantity of wheat in the bushels written vertically, the quantity of labor means the workers horizontally written, total product is the 20, the total product is the 10, so you can see this is the first labor. You can see marginal product of labor, bushels per worker, quantity of labor. These are the two lines of the total product, and these are the two lines of the marginal product of the labor. Means more you aid the laborer, the less output you are getting. And total cost curve for the George and Martha's farm. You can see that more workers we are adding, the quantity of bushels is written horizontally and the cost is written vertically. The more bushels you are going to produce, the more cost, there is a total cost is increasing, but it is just rising. Output is decreasing. You can see cost is increasing, but output is decreasing with a degree. It is also increasing but with a decreasing rate. So